But you had another job, Armand,
Yeah,
as
yes,
well.
okay. Yeah, along with that, when I got here, you know, being in the community that I'm in, I wanted to be in the community as well, and so I actually started volunteering at a local youth center. Uh,
While you were youth
to,
minister, right?
while I was youth
Okay.
minister, yes, which turned into I was there so much they told me that that I want a job. So it was actually kind of funny how that came about. I started volunteering, and then summer came around and said, "Hey, you want to be a counselor for a camp?" I said, "Sure." And after the camp was over, they said, "Hey, you want to be on part time?" I said, "Sure." And then they said, "You want to be on full time?" I said, "Sure." So it kind of progressed to a full time job for a while. It was during that process. It was during that process that I was exposed to many different programs that the city offered. I started getting really ingrained in the city of Chattanooga and being a part of a lot of things civically. And so that process that I got a lot of connections and a lot of people. Um, I will shout out my manager Joe Perry because he was crucial in that. He's very uh, he's never met a stranger, so he's very connected in the city and loves to meet people, and so he's built relationships that way. And so I started to mirror that example, and so um, one of the things that we did in my department was we tried to offer um, programs to our constituents that they may not be exposed to. And so
Mhm.
during that process, we were bringing different people to speak to the youth as well as to the adults. And we brought in someone who was um, showing individuals how they can get into the workforce different, unique ways. And one of those ways was through software development. And so she was talking about a program where she was able to, you could go right out of high school, or if you're trying to, shift in your career or do something else, you can, go through their program, their cohort, and they had a great success rate. They would walk you through, train you through their program, a 6 month program. Then they would help you get a job, all kind of stuff. And it was supposed to be for the constituents, but I was listening hard. I was like, man, this sounds great. I said, man, and and so after her presentation, I contacted her. I said, listen, I'm interested in learning more about the program. And so it was through that I took her program. We talked for a while. She had a few meetings that I attended, where she talked more in detail. And so I decided to join the cohort, and uh, it was different. I didn't really like it, but I will tell you that through that process, we had to take a training course for something else, and I encountered uh, another type of software environment that I loved, and I thought was conducive to my personality, to my skills. And so, it was during that time I said, "Hey," I asked my teacher, I said, "Hey, listen, I'm really interested in this class you were talking." He said, "Well, finish what you're doing now, and then come talk to me when you're done." He said, "Because what you're learning now will help you in your next step." And so that's what I
Mhm.
did. And so after my cohort was finished, I joined another cohort, another, and I was able to do that process, graduate that process, and then maybe about 3 or 4 months later, I got a job in that field.
Mhm.
And so I always talk about all the time. There's a lot of power in connections, and there's power in expanding your horizons. Um, you know, And to me, it's a real testimony because I really just was eager to learn more, and I wasn't satisfied, just with status quo. And so
Mhm.
um, I tell my youth all the time, listen, there's a big world out there, because there's some of the things that you don't know that's out there. I think we
Mhm.
see the kind of the um, the same type of jobs people talk about, but there's so much more that we don't talk about, that's available to if you just, do your research and meet people, right? I think that's super important.
Okay, so you have two jobs right now. That's what you're saying? Minister
Yes.
and software engineer kind of thing?
So it's called a Scrum Master.
Okay.
Basically, it's similar to a project manager for software development.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to explain it without getting too in the weeds. And so, I always say to people that my job, there's no degree for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no degree for a Scrum Master,
Mm-hmm.
but their job is just as uh, what we're looking for, just as high powered as a software developer or as a you know, the pay scale can be as same as a doctor, depending on how far you go, right? But there's no degree for it, and so I tell people is there are many different options. There are many different options that one can take to be successful. I always say if college is not for you, you can still make it, right? I've thought about going back to school. I don't have the time, but you know, and thinking about as I started get married and have a family, I thought about you know I wanted to earn more, and going back to school to me was so daunting because I was busy with ministry. It can be expensive, right? I've been out of school for a while, and so I was looking for alternative methods um, to to be able to provide for my family without having to go back to school, right? And I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I wanted something that would complement my ministry that I could do while being in ministry. That wouldn't take me away from being ministry, and there wasn't a lot of options. And so I was able to find this, and I'm able to work from home, right? I'm able to create my own schedule, right? And so it was a blessing in disguise. But it came from me reaching out. It came from me meeting people and not being closed off, but really taking the time to explore my options and networking.
I love that. I love that you were able to
Congratulations.
create your future for you. So, two last questions. The first one is, and you touched on it a little bit, but what myths would you like to dispel about homeschooling?
Yeah.
One of the biggest ones is that we don't have a social life. Homeschoolers don't. I think it's the opposite. I think we have more of a social life. I mean, it kind of really, I know I did. I think it varies based upon, the household, but I also know other homeschoolers who have big social lives too, I speak of my cousin Maisa, she's one of the most social persons I know, right? And, my sister's very social, and, I have a lot of friends, who were social. And so that's one of the biggest myths that people, talk about this. They have no social life. But also too, that homeschooling is not just for individuals who have learning disabilities or have maybe are truant or have bad behavior. It's a good a lot of people think it's the last option, right? Hey, this person wasn't able to learn effectively in school, so they be homeschooled, or this person was they were so truant that they weren't able to be in the school environment. But what I find is most homeschoolers that I know, they are just individuals who they don't have any learning disabilities or anything like that. They're just it's a better option for them, right? And so I think also too, people think homeschool is kind of like a last resort, as far as The reason why you're homeschooled, something's wrong. Something was wrong, right? That was the issue. So you're homeschooled now because you have an issue in your life that is not suitable for school, right? And I think that's a big myth as well. I was the reason I was homeschooled because my mom was a school teacher, and she was like, "Man, this is not where I want my kids to be." It wasn't because I had a learning disability, or was because now that's also a great option for those too, but that's not the only. I think the stigma is you're homeschooled because of a issue, right? A lot of times. And so because people don't understand why would you, why would, people understand the options that people have as homeschoolers, flexibility. So in their minds, why would you want to be homeschooled? Why would you want to homeschool your kids? Parents don't realize the resources. My mom might get mad if I say this, but after middle school, my mom really didn't teach me. Right? I was, it was between co-ops, it was between online. Right? She helped me with my homework if I needed to, but my mom wasn't sitting across the desk from me. Teach me on a whiteboard. After a certain age, right? And so I think a lot of parents are intimidated, right? That, man, I'm not a teacher. They said, well, my mom, her degree's in teaching. Auntie Karen, I know she was a teacher. Your degree is similar to that. You two educators in the house, you and Uncle Eddie, right? And so I think people think that you have to have a teacher background. No. The way the curriculums are set up, they're pretty much, your child can teach themselves pretty much. It's great because that's how college is, right? You have to teach yourself. The instructor is there sometimes, but you may not understand a word he said, right? You have to research yourself, and so I think homeschooling prepares you better for college in some instances because you have to be self-motivated. You have to be able to teach yourself a little bit as well. And so, learning is not hard. Homeschooling, because there's so many different options. There are thousands of curriculums that are all different that you can use. You can learn online. There are schools that will allow you to take online courses, right? Your child can take community college courses that are offered. I know a lot of kids who did that. They had college pretty much already done by the time they graduated high school, right? Because they were taking college courses. So there's so many different options that are available that people don't know. And so I think that's one of the stigmas is number one, the parents have to come up from scratch, curriculums to teach their kids. So that can be intimidating. Obviously, if you're not educated to realize that it's all done for you for the most part. But I think those are some of the biggest stigmas that I come across.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Well, I was going to ask you, what words would you have to say to those who were looking into homeschooling? But you you said it already.
Right.
You added everything in there, and that's great. So I'll see if Karen has another question, and if there's anything else you want to add.
Just one last question that I just thought about. So yeah, when you met and married your wife, what did she say about that you were home, or how did that conversation come up? Like that you were homeschooled, and what did he think about that? What did he think?
It's funny you said that because there was a time in my life where I was insecure about that. So I never volunteered people that I was homeschooled, and I really had no reason to be, but it was just something people always assumed, unless I offered information, people always assumed I was in school. I never, volunteered that information, and so I think she didn't know that until, deep into our dating that, oh, you were homeschooled? So yeah, I was homeschooled. I think mostly it's because people always have questions. Like, I guess I was tired of people asking questions. My peers, when you say you're homeschooled, they have so many questions. It's like, here we go again. Like, it's so I think that was one of the reasons why I never really volunteered. to the people that I met that I was homeschooled initially, because 21 questions would be asked. They'll have automatic assumptions, right? And I think I was kind of tired of that. Um, but she had misconceptions about it, and most people do. Most people who are not familiar with it have misconceptions about it. They don't understand it. They're wondering what's the reason. Why? Because they can't process why somebody would do that
Right.
if there's no type of issues with the person, or um, it's not a normal people thing,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so,
And I want to emphasize the fact that this is one of the reasons we're doing this, to interview homeschool graduates, is because we want people to understand that you've probably encountered a homeschool graduate, because your wife didn't know by just talking to you that you were homeschooled, right?
no.
So you, like you said, into the dating process,
It's
found
funny.
out.
A lot of people, when they hear, they're like, "You were homeschooled, really?" They're surprised, like,
Yeah.
you don't seem like
Yeah.
because I think that the typical, um, not typical, but some misconceptions are you're either you're a dork, or you're real, uh, I don't know,
Introverted.
introverted, can't communicate, all kind of stuff. And like, I was athletic, I was outgoing, and so it doesn't seem like it wasn't a typical in their mind what a homeschooler was like. So to this day, people are surprised, like, you were, because I talk about sports too. I talk about football all the time, and so, like, you said you played basketball. How'd you play that? How'd you play ball? Well, I had a homeschool, team, right? So I was playing AAU as well, but so
Right.
all those different things, people. When I talk about my graduation, how do you have graduation? So a lot of misconceptions. You
Right.
said
Right.
you said that you were played in a Shakespeare play when you were in high school. How'd you do that? Well, my co-op, we had a drama club. So it's all these things that people don't realize, that misconceptions about homeschooling. So um, yeah, but it's always just a conversation. Now I don't really care. I'm almost 30, so I don't I don't really care anymore. It's not a big of a deal to me. But
Right.
I think at one point I was insecure about it. I will say that, because I know people, they automatically judge you when they hear that, right? Without, because if they don't know anything about it.
Right.
So
Yeah. But I think it was great how, they knew you and then didn't think that you were homeschooled. And then once it was revealed that you were homeschooled, then that it just boggled their mind, right?
yeah,
It's just like, wait,
yeah,
like you said, it was like, wait, you were homeschooled? So I think that initial, like, you not saying anything really helped them to not prejudge you. And then then the questions did come, but at least they were just so their thoughts and their myths were were xed out before they knew that you were homeschooled.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot. Yeah. So thank
Well,
you so much,
thank you so
Armand.
much, Armand. It was such a pleasure meeting
thank you for having
you,
me.
hearing your
I enjoyed it.
story.
Yes. Good. Thank you so much. And we look forward to you sharing this just in your circle. And even with your wife.
So thank you
She might
again for
learn something
joining
too.
us.
All
We
right.
are
She's learned a
Homeschool
lot.
Yes.
Informational
All right.
Services. We individualize lifelong learning, and we are so happy to have you here. Thank you again.
All right.